What's up, Bills Mafia? Today we're going to be talking about the one thing we want to see from each of the Bills' top skill position players heading into 2023. But before we get to that, let's get to that intro.
This is VZ Music.
Welcome to the Mafia Sports Report. I am Tommy. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell because I always forget to tell you. Well, Bills Mafia, today we're going to be talking about the one thing we want to see from each of the Bills' top skill position players heading into the 2023 NFL season. And I want to say a special shout out to Bills Wire for making this article. So let's see what they have to say. They say on paper, the Buffalo Bills offense is one of the best in the league, but to win the Super Bowl, the Buffalo Bills will need to be the best if the Bills want to win the Super Bowl in 2023. Here is one thing we want to see from each of their top skill position players. They start off with quarterback Josh Allen. We want to see Josh Allen throw less interceptions. Since 2021, Allen has 9 games with more than 2 interceptions. That is the most in the NFL. Yeah, man. So listen, since Josh Allen was drafted, what I could tell you and what everyone could tell you is he has definitely improved on a lot of the mistakes he was making his first 2 seasons, right? In 2018 and 2019. He definitely has. He takes a lot less chances as far as throwing into traffic. He also doesn't escape the pocket right away like he was doing early on in his career in 2018, 2019. However, his interceptions have been noticeably bad. He threw 14 interceptions, I believe, last year, 15 in 2021. Those have to be cut down. Now, listen, some of these interceptions are not his fault. I've watched every single game. I rewatched the games after. Some of these passes he throws are hitting these players right in their chest. For instance, one of them that I remember last year was Cole Beasley hitting him right here and bounced off and went into a defender's arms. So some of these aren't his fault. Some of them are, right? Some of these are bad route running, right? Guy was supposed to go one way. He went the opposite way. And one thing about Josh Allen, he'll never throw a player under the bus and say, it wasn't my fault. He just takes it as his. Hey, my fault. I should have done a better job. But ultimately, yes, he does need to get that number down as far as interceptions, turnovers go. He also fumbles the ball a little bit too much, and that's because he runs the ball a little bit more than your average quarterback would run. But honestly, man, listen, I felt like Josh Allen, since really 2020, where he started to spike up as far as his quarterback percentage goes, his completion percentage goes, all of that. His quarterback rating, completion percentage, his touchdowns to interceptions are always on the positive side. So, I love what I see from Josh Allen. He's continuing to grow. He's continuing to get better. And if you notice, too, he throws the ball away a lot more now than he did years prior. And that's because he understands that you listen, sometimes you got to just live for another play, right? You don't need to always, go for a crazy pass or, make something happen that's just not there. Though we love it when he does make it happen, and that's the wow factor of Josh Allen. But I think even he has learned that sometimes you got to live for another play, right? And just throw it away. And also too, with his running, he's learned to slide a little bit better, though he still sometimes wants to go ahead and act like he's a running back, but he's done a way better job with that. And then with the protection of the offensive line this upcoming season, I expect less turnovers from Josh Allen. Okay, especially with fumbling, especially with turnovers. I don't expect him to, get into this groove of throwing interceptions like a Jameis Winston, right? Where it's just going to be every year 15 plus interceptions. I just don't see that. He understands that you can't turn the ball over in this league. So I expect Josh Allen to have less interceptions this year than the last 2 years for sure. All right, so let's see who's next on this list. Next on this list, running back James Cook. We want to see James Cook take the next step up. With former Bills running back Devin Singletary now with the Houston Texans and Nyheim Hines injured, the main responsibility for running and catching the ball will be on Cook, who had a productive rookie season last year. And he did. Listen, you got to let James Cook cook, right? Let him cook. I thought he had a really good second half of the NFL season last year in 2022. I thought his vision was better. He was more patient with his waiting for his blocks. I thought he ran between the tackles better. He needs to work a little bit better on his pass catching. And it's not that the fact that he's dropping passes, but getting on the same page with Josh Allen, running the right routes. Just building a chemistry with Josh Allen is very important. Once he establishes that connection with Josh Allen, he could be a really big weapon on this offense. And listen, if Ken Dorsey has James Cook run for over 200 carries this season, I can see James Cook going over 1,000 yards. No doubt about it. Devin Singletary came close twice, but he didn't go over 200 yards. He didn't have over 200. He didn't have over 200 carries. So if Devin Singletary had like 225, somewhere around that range, he would have probably hit the 1,000 yards for the season. But they just, unfortunately for Devin Singletary, the offensive line stunk. And I don't think Brian Daboll or Ken Dorsey felt confident enough to continue to run the ball with a bad offensive line. Now that we have, at least on paper and what I could see, a good offensive line or a better offensive line that we had since the McBean era, I could definitely see Ken Dorsey mixing in the run a little bit more this season. So James Cook could potentially get over 200 carries and go over 1,000 yards. And also, not to mention, Nyheim Hines being out, James Cook will be your primary running back, pass-catching running back out the backfield. He could also pick up another 3, 4, maybe even 500 yards in receiving. So let James Cook cook this year. I like what I saw last year. The game definitely slowed down for him, and I'm excited to see what he can do this season. All right, next on the list, wide receiver, Stefan Diggs. We want to see Stefan Diggs break 1,500 receiving yards next year and catch a touchdown in the playoffs. Again, since his first year with Buffalo back in 2020, Diggs has produced throughout the year and into the postseason, putting up MVP numbers in 2023. And finding the end zone in a playoff game will add extra emphasis to the Bills' offense in January. I agree. Listen. This team ain't going anywhere without Stefan Diggs, right? Stefan Diggs is a top 5 receiver in the NFL. He's one of the best route runners in the NFL. I think he is the best route runner in the NFL. Him and Josh have a very good connection. Stefan Diggs he's had the best years of his career while in Buffalo. All right, and that's because Josh Allen and him have that connection going. And Ken Dorsey will continue to call plays for Stefan Diggs. So, Stefan Diggs very important this year for this team to go to a Super Bowl. No doubt about it. He needs to be on his game. Josh needs to be on his game. They need to find ways to get him more involved, especially in the playoffs. But listen, man, Stefan Diggs is going to do Stefan Diggs things each season while he's here. I never have a doubt in my mind that Stefan Diggs will just all of a sudden not show up on game day. He's going to show up on game day. It's just, about how we game plan around around him, and how other players step up and do their job as well. You know, but yeah, Stefan Diggs for sure. I understand why they put him on this list. Next up, wide receiver Gabe Davis. We want to see Gabe Davis be a consistent difference maker. On a make or break contract year, the wide receiver will need to replicate the touchdown scoring spree in 2021 and be a valuable target for Allen throughout the season. I agree. And listen, I expect big things from Gabe Davis. I'm one of the few. I'll be honest with you. Bills Mafia is a little tough on Gabe Davis, and I don't think they should be. Gabe Davis, his first season last year as wide receiver number 2, he had, listen, wasn't a perfect season, but I didn't think he had a bad season either. He had over 800 yards receiving. He was hurt, right? Got a bad ankle injury, a high ankle sprain, I believe, after week 2. And he just mentally and physically, which, by the way, he addressed that to reporters in training camp and said, listen, mentally and physically throughout last season, I was just not right. And I will respect anyone that could say they were mentally in a wrong place. And it's not that that's an excuse. That's reality. That's truth. Okay. And I respect that from Gabe Davis. So this year he's coming in healthy. Hopefully he can remain healthy. And, I'm sure he's learned a lot too. Right. And listen, he needs to work on his drop percentage. You can't have that high drop percentage this season, right? And I believe he will. I believe he will. That dude grinds every offseason. He puts the work in. Josh Allen loves throwing to him. He is the wide receiver 2 here in Buffalo. And also, this is a contract year. Listen, Gabe Davis is going to want to ball out. He's going to want to show his worth. So I am on record by saying Gabe Davis will have 1,000 yards, over 1,000 yards receiving this season. He's gonna get Bills Mafia back on his side, and we're gonna be asking, should we re-sign Gabe Davis after this season? Because I'm telling you, Gabe Davis will have a very good season for Buffalo this year. All right, let's go to the next guy on this list, and that is tight end / wide receiver Dalton Kincaid. We want to see Dalton Kincaid enjoy it. There's going to be a lot of pressure on the newly drafted tight end who is expected to play in the slot. Bills coach Sean McDermott recently echoed a similar expectation of the rookie to go out in front of the fans and enjoy it during his first training camp, and we want Kincaid to continue the attitude throughout the season. And I agree. Listen, man, at first, man, you guys know I was on record saying, I wasn't crazy about the pick, but once that draft was over and finished, and they got O'Cyrus Torrence, and they also filled up a couple other spots in the draft that I liked, I understood the pick. Once I saw the film on this dude, I really understood the pick. So far in training camp, he and Josh are on the same page. There's been nothing but good things out of camp with Dalton Kincaid. And listen, I said it before, tight ends normally don't have breakout rookie seasons. It just doesn't happen a lot. But I don't see this dude as like just a tight end. He is a playmaker. He is a weapon. And I think that's how Buffalo Bills see him. I think that's how Brandon Beane saw him when he drafted him. That's how Ken Dorsey sees him. They're going to line him up in a slot. They're probably going to line him up at receiver at times. They're going to line him at tight end. I mean, they're going to line him up all over the field. 12 personnel, you're going to see that a lot this season by Ken Dorsey, which we never have done under the McBean era. You're going to see that, right? And it's exciting. It's very exciting to see both Dawson and Kincaid on the field at the same time. And that's going to be Josh's new security blanket. And, I'm expecting a big season for Dalton Kincaid. I am. If everything holds true and form the way things are going now, and he carries that into preseason, into the week into week 1, you're going to see big things from Dalton Kincaid. And I just think this guy has a bright future ahead of him. And on and off the field seems like a really good dude as well, man. So love the pick. And I just love what he's doing so far. And by the way, tight end university, smart decision, because that helped Dawson Knox big time. And hey, speaking of Dawson Knox, next on the list, Dawson Knox. We want to see Dawson Knox continue to produce at a high level as a run blocker and pass catcher. Knox is extremely talented and provides various levels of support on the Bills' offense. The Bills paid him a lucrative contract for the talented tight end who will look to continue doing what he does well. And that's the end of that article, by the way. And yeah, man, listen, I love Dawson Knox. I do. Last year, a little bit of a bumpy road. And by the way, his brother passed away in the offseason as well. And he also was dealing with like a nagging foot thing. And not to mention, our blocking was awful, and they used him more in blocking. Just a lot went wrong for Dawson Knox last year, and that's why his stats went down a little bit compared to in 2022. So I expect now with the additions of the offensive line, with the addition of Dalton Kincaid, you're going to see Dawson Knox more involved in the offense, and you're going to see him back to form and maybe even perform better than he did in 2022. So I'm excited to see what Dawson Knox brings to the table this year. And yeah, we paid him, and hey, it is what it is, man. I think it's a good contract as long as he bounces back this season and shows his worth. But I like the guy. Once again, another guy that's awesome dude on and off the field. Good player to have in Buffalo. By the way, too, him and Josh have a really good connection. And he's had some good games where he stepped up. So I expect that this season as well. I expect him to get his touchdowns back up to where they were in 2022. So yeah, man, I'm excited. So who do you guys have on this list? If you guys, or what do you guys think about this? What about their list? Comment below. And Bills Mafia, I love you. And as always, go Bills. I'm out of here. Peace.